The secret strategies that defeated Nazi Germany. When Nazi Germany stormed across Europe in 1939 to 1941, it seemed unstoppable. Hitler's armies conquered Poland, France, Norway, the Balkans, and much of the Soviet Union in a breathtaking series of victories. Yet only 4 years later, the Third Reich lay in ruins. While massive battles like Stalingrad, Normandy, and Berlin were crucial, behind these victories stood a web of secret strategies, intelligence operations, and hidden advantages that quietly destroyed Nazi power from within. These unseen factors were just as important as tanks and soldiers in bringing about Germany's defeat. 1. Breaking the Nazi Code, the Enigma secret. One of the most important hidden victories of World War II happened far from the battlefield, in quiet rooms filled with mathematicians. The German military relied on the Enigma machine, a complex device that encrypted messages. The Nazis believed Enigma was unbreakable. Every day, millions of combinations were possible, making it nearly impossible for anyone without the machine to read the messages. But at Bletchley Park in Britain, a team of codebreakers, led by Alan Turing, cracked Enigma. Using early computers and brilliant mathematics, they could read German messages in near real time. This secret intelligence, called Ultra, allowed the Allies to know where German submarines were hunting ships, predict troop movements, avoid ambushes, target German supply lines. The Germans never realized their codes were broken. They trusted their communications until the very end of the war. Many historians believe Enigma shortened the war by at least 2 years, saving millions of lives. 2. Tricking Hitler. The art of deception. The Allies became masters of deception, fooling Hitler and his generals again and again. Operation Bodyguard. Before the D-Day invasion of Normandy, the Allies launched the greatest deception plan in history. They convinced Germany that the invasion would occur at Pas-de-Calais, not Normandy. They did this by creating fake armies with inflatable tanks, sending false radio messages using double agents to spread lies, making fake landing craft. Hitler kept his best troops in the wrong place, while real Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy. This mistake allowed the invasion to succeed. Double agents. Many German spies in Britain were secretly working for the Allies. They fed Berlin false information, guiding Nazi decisions into disaster. 3. Economic warfare. Starving the Nazi war machine, Germany's military depended on oil, steel, rubber, and food. The Allies attacked these lifelines. Strategic bombing factories, railways, oil refineries, and power plants were bombed relentlessly. By 1944, German aircraft and tanks often sat unused because there was no fuel to run them. The Battle of the Atlantic, German U-boats tried to sink Allied supply ships. But with radar, code-breaking, and aircraft, the Allies defeated the U-boats. Once supply lines were safe, the US and Britain could flood Europe with soldiers, tanks, and weapons. Germany simply could not match this industrial power. 4. Hitler's own mistakes. Hitler himself became one of Germany's greatest weaknesses. He refused to retreat when his armies were trapped, interfered with military planning, wasted resources on wonder weapons, opened too many fronts. His decision to invade the Soviet Union in 1941 was especially disastrous. Germany became locked in a brutal war against a vast enemy that would eventually crush them. 5. The Soviet hammer. While Britain and the US fought in the West, the Soviet Union destroyed the bulk of the German army in the East. Battles like Stalingrad, Kursk, Operation Bagration wiped out millions of German soldiers and thousands of tanks. By 1944, Germany was bleeding to death. 6. The power of Allied unity. The Allies, despite political differences, worked together. The US provided industrial power, money, weapons. Britain provided intelligence, naval power. Global reach, the Soviet Union provided. Massive armies, relentless pressure. Germany had no such unity with its allies. Conclusion. Nazi Germany was defeated not only by guns and bombs, but by secrets, deception, intelligence, and strategy. The breaking of Enigma, the masterful Allied deception campaigns, The destruction of German industry and Hitler's own deadly mistakes slowly strangled the Third Reich. What seemed like an unstoppable empire collapsed because the Allies outthought, outproduced, and outmaneuvered it. History often remembers the battles, but it was the hidden war behind the scenes that truly decided the fate of Nazi Germany. The Secret Strategies That Defeated Nazi Germany, Part 2. While armies clashed across continents, a hidden war was being fought in shadows, inside occupied cities, behind enemy lines, and deep within Germany itself. These unseen efforts slowly weakened the Nazi war machine and made victory possible. 7. The resistance movements across Europe. Ordinary civilians became secret soldiers. In France, Poland, Yugoslavia, Norway, and the Netherlands, underground groups blew up railways, destroyed factories, smuggled downed Allied pilots, passed intelligence to the Allies. These resistance fighters forced Germany to waste soldiers guarding supply lines instead of fighting on the front lines. The French resistance, for example, played a key role before D-Day by sabotaging German transport routes, delaying reinforcements that could have stopped the Allied invasion. 8. Nazi technology wasn't enough. Germany had advanced weapons, jet fighters, rockets, and powerful tanks, but it lacked the resources and coordination to use them effectively. Hitler invested heavily in wonder weapons like the V-2 rocket, hoping they would magically win the war. But these weapons, arrived too late, were too expensive, did little military damage. Meanwhile, the Allies mass-produced simple, reliable equipment. 10 ordinary tanks were more useful than one advanced but rare superweapon. 9. The war inside Germany. Not all Germans supported Hitler. Secret groups, military officers, and civilians tried to overthrow him. The most famous was the July 20th, 1944 assassination attempt, when officers tried to kill Hitler with a bomb. Although it failed, it showed how divided Germany had become. Fear, shortages, and constant bombing destroyed morale. Many soldiers no longer believed they could win. 10. Total war broke the Nazi state. By 1944 to 1945, Germany was collapsing from inside. Cities lay in ruins. Fuel was almost gone. Trains barely ran. Food was scarce. Factories could not produce fast enough, and the army could not replace its losses. The Nazi system was being crushed from all directions. 11. The final trap. When Allied forces landed in France and the Soviets attacked from the east, Germany was caught in a deadly vice. Germany had no escape. The West was pushing forward, the East was advancing faster. The air belonged to the Allies. This two-front assault was exactly what Germany had feared, and it came true. Conclusion: how the Nazis were truly defeated. Nazi Germany did not fall because of one battle or one mistake. It was defeated by intelligence deception, economic warfare, resistance, Allied unity, and Hitler's own failures. The war was won not just by soldiers, but by minds, secrets, and strategies working silently behind the scenes. Spies, superweapons, and the final collapse. As Nazi Germany fought desperately to survive, a hidden battle unfolded between intelligence agencies, secret weapons programs, and desperate last-chance plans. These behind-the-scenes struggles quietly sealed the fate of the Third Reich. 12. The Allied spy networks. Allied intelligence services built vast spy networks inside Nazi-occupied Europe and even within Germany itself. Spies reported on troop movements, factory locations, new weapons, defensive positions. The British MI6, American OSS, and Soviet NKVD coordinated secret operations that gave the Allies priceless knowledge. Many spies were ordinary people, secretaries, factory workers, train conductors, who risked their lives to pass information. Without these silent heroes, Allied bombers and armies would have been blind. 13. Capturing Nazi scientists. As Germany began to lose, the Allies raced to capture its scientists before they could escape or fall into Soviet hands. Through Operation Paperclip, American forces secretly brought hundreds of German scientists to the United States, including rocket experts like Werner von Braun. This had two effects. It denied Germany the ability to continue advanced weapons research. It strengthened Allied technological power, Germany's greatest minds were removed just when the Reich needed them most. 14. The myth of Nazi superweapons. Hitler believed advanced technology would save Germany. These included jet fighters, Me-262, V-2 rockets, super heavy tanks. But these weapons were introduced too late and in too small numbers. They also used huge amounts of fuel and materials Germany no longer had. Allied bombing and sabotage ensured many of these weapons never even reached the battlefield. 15. Psychological warfare. The Allies attacked not just German soldiers, but German morale. Millions of leaflets were dropped over Germany, telling soldiers the war was lost. Hitler had betrayed them. Surrender would save their lives. Radio broadcasts spread the same message. Over time, this destroyed the will to fight. Many German units surrendered as soon as Allied troops arrived. 16. Hitler's last illusions. Even as Soviet tanks entered Berlin, Hitler still believed miracle weapons would save him. He refused to surrender, even when defeat was certain. His stubbornness caused needless deaths, destroyed Germany's remaining cities, left millions homeless. On April 30th, 1945, Hitler ended his life in a bunker beneath Berlin. A 1,000-year empire had lasted only 12 years. Final conclusion: how the hidden war created the modern world. When Nazi Germany collapsed in May 1945, the world did not simply return to peace. The secret strategies that defeated Hitler went on to shape global politics, technology, and warfare for decades. Many of the tools used to win World War II quietly became the foundation of the modern world. 17. Intelligence became the most powerful weapon. Before World War II, intelligence services were small and often ignored. After the defeat of Nazi Germany, every major power understood that information could win wars before battles were ever fought. Because of Enigma and Allied spy networks, Britain expanded MI6 and GCHQ. The United States created the CIA. The Soviet Union strengthened the KGB. Spying, code-breaking, and surveillance became permanent parts of global power. The Cold War was not fought mainly with tanks. It was fought with secrets. 18. Technology was transformed. Many of the secret projects created to defeat Nazi Germany became the foundations of modern technology. Nazi rocket research led to the U.S. space program, satellites, intercontinental missiles. Allied code-breaking work led to modern computers, cybersecurity, digital communication. The computers used to break Enigma were the ancestors of today's laptops and smartphones. 19. Germany's defeat changed global power. The fall of Nazi Germany destroyed the old European balance of power. Britain and France were exhausted. Germany was ruined. This allowed two new superpowers to rise: the United States, the Soviet Union. Their rivalry shaped the world for the next 50 years. Nuclear weapons, spy networks, and proxy wars all grew from the same secret war mindset developed during World War II. 20. Lessons the world learned. The hidden war against Nazi Germany taught powerful lessons. Technology matters as much as soldiers. Control of information decides victory. Deception can defeat even the strongest army. Modern warfare, cyber war, drones, surveillance, comes directly from these ideas. 21. The silent heroes. Millions who helped defeat Nazi Germany were never known. Code breakers, resistance fighters, spies, factory workers, saboteurs. Their names were hidden for decades, but without them, Hitler might not have been defeated. Final reflection. The defeat of Nazi Germany was not just a military victory, it was a victory of minds over brute force. Behind every tank was a code breaker. Behind every bombing raid was a spy. Behind every victory was a secret. And it is these secrets that continue to shape the world we live in today. The greatest hidden missions of World War II. Some of the most important blows against Nazi Germany were struck not by massive armies, but by small teams working in total secrecy. These missions, often unknown to the public for decades, crippled Hitler's war effort from the inside. 22. The sabotage of Hitler's atomic bomb. One of the most dangerous threats of the war was the possibility that Nazi Germany could develop an atomic bomb. Germany was researching nuclear weapons, but it lacked the key ingredient, heavy water, which was produced in Norway. In a daring operation, Norwegian commandos parachuted into enemy territory and destroyed the heavy water factory at Vemork. Later, they sank a ferry carrying remaining supplies to Germany. This single mission may have prevented Hitler from ever obtaining nuclear weapons. 23. Stealing Nazi secrets, Allied agents repeatedly stole German documents, maps, and codebooks. In daring raids, British commandos boarded German ships to capture Enigma machines. Resistance fighters smuggled blueprints of new weapons. Spies copied military plans. These stolen secrets allowed the Allies to stay one step ahead of German strategy. 24. Operation Mincemeat. In one of the strangest plans of the war, British intelligence used a dead body dressed as a military officer and planted fake documents on it. The body was released into the sea and found by German agents who believed the fake invasion plans were real. As a result, Hitler moved troops away from the real target, allowing the Allied invasion of Italy to succeed. 25. Targeting the Nazi economy, Allied bombers were guided by secret intelligence to attack the most vital factories. They destroyed ball-bearing plants, oil refineries, railway hubs. These attacks slowly strangled Germany's ability to fight. 26. The shadow war in the cities. In cities like Paris, Warsaw, and Berlin, secret agents lived double lives, working by day, spying by night. They sent coded messages, hid radios, and passed information to the Allies, often under the threat of torture or death. Final thought. These hidden missions never appeared on battle maps, but without them, the war might have lasted years longer or ended very differently. The fall of Nazi Germany was shaped not just by soldiers, but by courage in the shadows. The psychological war that broke the Third Reich. While bombs destroyed German cities, a quieter but equally powerful weapon was being used against Nazi Germany: psychological warfare. The Allies understood that to defeat Hitler, they had to destroy not only his armies, but the belief that Germany could still win. This invisible war slowly shattered German morale and made defeat inevitable. 27. The war for the German mind. From the beginning, the Nazi regime controlled what Germans heard and saw. Propaganda told them they were unbeatable, but the Allies fought back with truth, fear, and doubt. They dropped millions of leaflets over German cities and battlefields. These papers showed real casualty numbers, photographs of destroyed cities, messages from captured German soldiers, proof that Hitler was lying. Many German troops read them in secret, realizing the war was hopeless. 28. Radio as a weapon. Allied radio broadcasts reached deep into Germany. These programs reported true war news, exposed Nazi crimes, predicted coming Allied attacks. Some broadcasts pretended to be German stations run by loyal officers. They slowly fed listeners doubt about Hitler's leadership, making it seem like even Nazis had lost faith in him. 29. Turning German soldiers against Hitler. Psychological warfare focused heavily on German soldiers. The Allies spread messages saying Hitler was sacrificing them for his pride. Their families were suffering at home. Surrender meant survival. As Allied armies advanced, entire German units began surrendering rather than fighting to the death. 30. Fear, hunger, and hopelessness. By 1944 to 1945, Germany was collapsing. Cities were destroyed. Food was scarce. Families were separated. Bombing raids happened day and night. People lived in constant fear. This suffering made Nazi promises sound hollow. Faith in Hitler disappeared, even among loyal supporters. 31. The final collapse of will. When Soviet forces reached Berlin, many German soldiers no longer wanted to fight. They knew the war was lost. Even though Hitler demanded total resistance, his words had no power left. The psychological war had already been won. Conclusion. The defeat of Nazi Germany was not only a military victory, it was a victory of minds. By destroying German morale, exposing Nazi lies, and turning soldiers away from blind obedience, the Allies made it impossible for Hitler to continue. The Third Reich fell not just because it was overpowered, but because it no longer believed in itself. In the end, Nazi Germany was not defeated in a single dramatic moment. It was slowly crushed by a system of global planning, unstoppable supply networks, and carefully coordinated strategy that Germany could never match. This was the final invisible weapon of the Allies. 32. The power of logistics wars are not won by soldiers alone. They are won by supply. The Allies built the largest logistical system in human history. Millions of tons of food, fuel for tanks, ships and planes, spare parts, medical supplies, ammunition. Every soldier on the front line depended on a river of supplies flowing from factories in the United States, Britain, and Canada. Germany, constantly bombed and blockaded, could not keep up. Trains were destroyed. Fuel was gone. Vehicles were abandoned. A tank without fuel is just metal. 33. The industrial avalanche. The United States became the arsenal of democracy. American factories produced more tanks, trucks, planes, ships than Germany, Italy, and Japan combined. Even when Germany destroyed Allied equipment, it was replaced within weeks. Germany simply could not outproduce the Allies. 34. Global coordination. Allied leaders met repeatedly to plan the defeat of Hitler. They coordinated where armies would attack, how supplies would be delivered, how Germany would be divided and occupied. Germany fought alone against a global coalition that shared intelligence, resources, and strategy. 35. The final trap closes. In 1945, the Allies launched their final coordinated assault. From the west, British and American armies crossed the Rhine from the east. The Soviet Union pushed into Berlin. Germany was crushed between two unstoppable forces. 36. Hitler's last days. As Berlin fell, Hitler hid underground in his bunker. The armies he once commanded were gone. The people he ruled were starving. On April 30th, 1945, he took his own life. Days later, Germany surrendered. The Third Reich had ended. Final reflection. Why Nazi Germany really lost. Nazi Germany was defeated not by one enemy, but by a system. Intelligence that saw everything. Deception that confused the enemy. Industry that never stopped logistics, that never failed allies who stayed united, and a dictator who destroyed his own nation. The war was decided long before the last shot was fired, because Germany had already been outplanned, outproduced, and outthought. The true lesson of history. The greatest power in war is not just weapons. It is information, organization, and unity. And that is what finally brought down Nazi Germany.